This is a great new resource that Joel and his team have put together, and we're really excited to have the opportunity to learn directly from Joel and Sam the ways in which this resource has grown since we heard about it last at the EARN conference. It's a resource that will only be as strong as we all allow it to be through our various crowdsourcing. I appreciate that Joel and Sam have taken time today to walk us up the various learning curves and to give us a sense of what's available, but also what's required from us to help make this as much of a success as it possibly can be. And I think with that, I will turn it over to Joel and take it away.
Okay, great. Thanks, Doug, and I hope everyone can hear me. I've got no idea of verifying that, and I don't know quite how many people are on still, but because I can't see you all. But hi, this is Joel from COWS, and it's not Joel and Sam. It's Joel, Sam, Anthony, some other staff here, plus a lot of help from all of you already, in particular from Colin Gordon, who's I hope on the phone as well. A number of you, but not all of you, were at the presentation of Alice that was done at the last EARN conference in New Orleans. But basically, and so some of what I'm going to say is going to be repetitious to that. But basically, I thought for a long time, and I'm sure a lot of you have thought it would be really good if the movement had something like, something like an effective counter to the model legislation utility that Alice provides our enemies. And this is an attempt to, and we at COWS had actually tried something a little bit more ambitious than the current Alice several years ago, and that crashed and burned for lack of funding and whatever. But we just decided, especially after the sort of the reboot of EARN following the Tea Party election in 2010, when you had 706 partisan seats picked up by the GOP, and all those legislatures went to the right, and a lot of you know what happened after that. That we really needed urgently something like Alice. So we rebooted it, and we've gotten a number of people involved in creating content for it. We're creating some of the content ourselves here at COWS with staff, but we're working very closely with a number of other people. If you go up to see who's involved, go to that Get Involved thing at the top of the page, if you can see that. Let's see. Oh boy. So who's involved? I'm sorry, it's about Alice and the contributors. Here's the range of people who are now involved in One Way Alice. You've got a bunch of advocacy groups, including a lot of you, but you've also got a large number of students and professors at all those schools that are indicated. And some of those are public schools, and some of them are private schools, and some of them are elite schools, and some of them are not so elite. But I'm very excited to get for the movement something like that range of participation among different people. Anthony, I'm having a problem with the screen. I want this. I want to hide my control panel finally.
Or just scroll up on the right side.
Yeah, right. Okay. So Alice is. And Alice was endorsed as a project by EARN through our quasi board, the advisory board for EARN, and you've all I think heard something about it in the past. But basically, what it is an attempt to, along very basic categories of state policy, shown here on the left here, different basic policy areas: civil rights, economic security, economic and workforce development, education, voting and elections, blah, 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 blah. 14 categories, and a variety of topics within those. And there are a zillion of these topics, and then a variety of tags, which, as you know from library science, you can do at higher or lower levels of aggregation. It tries to put together a big library, a living library, I hope, of both exemplary law and model law, and then a variety of supports in argument for them. The exemplary laws, you see, we're up to 763 exemplary laws. What we mean by that are simply laws which have been, introduced or enacted somewhere that are worthy of replication. By model laws, we mean laws in general language, as explained on the site, that could be applied in different places, tailored for your local circumstance, including most of the basic elements, the definitional elements and the enactment elements and the the funding elements, etc., that you would need in model law. And by supports, and this is a particular where EARN, I think, comes in, is basically any sort of research, polling data, talking points, cool charts, anything at all to make arguments in their support. You can sort this website. I'm not going to tell you how to sort through the thing, and Sam may give you an example of a sorting deal. But you can sort by a variety of ways. You can sort by the source at the bottom. You can sort by the state. You can sort by the year. You can sort by the type of law, the level of government, or any of those major categories that I just gave you in terms of the election or the collection. And what we hope is with the site to to put current stuff up, anything hot that's happening. Like here, we just put up the CAP report that Cows worked with David Madeline and a bunch of other people on. And we're going to put up our own city report soon, and it'll all be available for you. But then also specific campaigns and other things that might be of particular interest. So we've got stuff there on voter registration, some of the better laws, and we also want to get a little bit. We don't want to do all the great work that that ALEC Exposed is doing, but a little bit we want to be able to begin to highlight things that are coming at you in the states. For example, this particular concern of mine, this Electricity Freedom Act, which is sweeping through a bunch of states currently, and is trying to repeal all the RPS standards, and in some cases all the energy efficiency standards as well. And then we have a variety of new tools on the new website. An ALICE matchmaking tool. We've had for some time a stakeholder page tool which enables you to have confidential conversations with other people, and we can moderate through the ALICE site, or you can moderate yourself, but we could launch from the ALICE site. That goes to our not exactly alliance, but certainly good friendship with Karen Suhaka at BuildTrack 50, which a great utility that she's developed, which is keeping track of state law all the time. And the way that's useful on EARN stuff, in particular maybe more activist groups than a lot of people on the phone, but certainly people are trying to fight particular policy stuff. I was just talking this morning to some people from NRDC and USGBC, that's the U.S. Green Building Council, and someone from ECC, which is the Emerald Cities Collaborative, and we were all talking about this Electricity Freedom Act, and someone said, well, gee, it would be useful to be able to keep track of all these different laws that are moving simultaneously in different places and be able to see exactly what's happening in each without having to go on the website of every damn legislature. And what Karen's utility, BuildTrack 50, allows you to do is to do that instantaneously. She refreshes it every night, I think, or if not every hour. And so you can set up these stakeholder pages and watch things. But in general, I would just echo, I want to turn over to Sam, but I would just echo what Doug had said. This is meant very much as a public good for our movement. We're losing money, we're bleeding right now on it. I don't know if we're ever going to find serious money for this. If we don't, it'll go out of existence soon enough. But we've thrown out a bunch of stuff here to try to get a critical mass of stuff and prove the utility of this for the broader movement, which I think we're sort of at the point of having done at this point. You got a lot of laws up here. You got a lot of ways to connect to legislators, a lot of different ways to have private conversations, public conversations, a lot of ways to display stuff that's very, very relevant to EARN work. But it's only going to succeed if it's inspected, criticized, crowdsourced, contributed to, blah, 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 all the things that public goods require, absent a big army and a taxing authority, which we certainly don't have at Cows. Okay, with that, let me turn it over to Sam. Let me see, Sam, just before I do that, if there's anything else I was desperate to say. There's all sorts of stuff. Sam will talk about this a little bit, but there's all sorts of ways to get involved. There's ways to submit materials, and Colin will talk about this later for particular, with particular application, the EARN groups. There's ways to donate, too, if you guys want to donate. There are ways to match make with different groups and legislators and stuff. One new thing that we're getting, and we're just beginning to fill this in, are issue pages. We've got a news and events thing where you can, see what coverage we've gotten, which is okay. And then you've got that legislative tracking and other resources that are up there. Let me just show the legislative tracking thing just so you can see what it does. We recently, and this is not even full, recently uploaded onto Karen's thing the what we know of as current law that we are saying is exemplary, which is alive and well in the 2013 sessions, which are now well along. And I don't think this actually covers everything, but as you can see, that's tracking, really in every step of the way a zillion different laws. And if you go on those laws, I'm not going to do this here because it would take too much time, but if you click that number, you'll be thrown into a much more detailed screen at Bill Track 50, which will tell you exactly where that law is at. And the stakeholder pages that allow you to do that for multiple laws, not this many. You wouldn't want to do this many laws, but you could do as many as you want in particular areas of interest. So you could put all the, domestic laborers' rights laws up and just see what their progress is, or all the electricity freedom laws up and see what their progress is, and so on and so forth. I think you get the point. Sort of hard here to talk into a complete vacuum, but I'm going to stop talking. And Anthony, now let's get me out and give control of this thing to Sam. Okay? Bye.
Okay, thanks, Joel. And I'm assuming you can hear me, Anthony?
That's correct.
Great. And thanks, Doug, by the way, for organizing this and sending out reminders and so on and giving us a venue to talk about ALICE and for, in general, supporting the effort. So I'm going to quickly run through some of the ways that EARN groups can use, some of the main ways we imagine EARN groups using and contributing to ALICE. I'll make this pretty short because it's never that much fun to watch someone click around a website, but we've reserved some time at the end for questions and answers, so if you have specific questions about particular features of the website or about how to find something in particular, we'll have some time to get to that to the end. I'm just going to stick with the basics. And so one of the basic ways that we imagine folks from EARN groups and everyone, indeed, using ALICE is by looking for model or exemplary law on a particular topic. So, for instance, you're in your state, you're thinking that you need a great model for, let's say, minimum wage law. That's something most EARN groups probably don't actually need to look outwards for a model on, but it's an easy example. There's two basic ways to search the website. Pardon me for 1 second. There's the ubiquitous Google search bar at the top of the page. You can see I'm sort of mousing over it now. And then there's what we call facets, but are basically different ways of categorizing the website on the left. So the simplest way, of course, is a basic keyword search at the top of the page. Type in minimum wage, and you'll get all of the materials related to minimum wage that are in the database. That's quite a bit. As you can see, it's 178 things, so I'm going to show you some ways to sift through that. There's a variety of ways to sort the results that you get from the search. So for instance, here we have, let's see, some things from 2006. You may want more recent materials, so you can easily sort to bring up the newest stuff first. So here's a 2013 minimum wage bill from Minnesota. You may also want to sort by relevance to see or by title if you're looking for a particular thing. Then you can look through the titles easily. You can also sift through these using the what we call the facet bar, this bar on the left that I'm scrolling over now. And so, for instance, here we've pulled up 178 things related to minimum wage. But suppose you're specifically looking for a model law on minimum wage or on some other somewhat more obscure topic. You can look down to what we call collection and click on model, which is what we call model laws. And here you'll get all of the model legislation, both state and local, in the ALICE database related to minimum wage. So you can see there's a model ordinance related to large retailers. Right underneath that is a model minimum wage act that we at ALICE put together. It incorporates some of the models and some of the best practices from EARN groups and from around the country, and a whole host of other ones. Some of these are in here because they reference minimum wage in some way, even though they're perhaps not directly on point. Suppose what you're actually looking for is a good example of a state law from another state rather than a model. You want to know, what's a good minimum wage law that passed somewhere. This little top bar here shows you the terms that you're searching on right now. So I'm going to remove model by clicking on that little X, scroll down, and go to what we call exemplary. Exemplary is something that's a law that's passed or been introduced somewhere in the country that we think is worth replicating. So if we click on exemplary here, we get, not surprisingly, a whole host of minimum wage laws from all over the country. But so you can see that you can see a couple laws that have passed recently in Minnesota and New Hampshire, the accompanying law in Minnesota, Connecticut, and so on. There's a whole host of them. And on other topics, probably you'd be looking at many fewer exemplary laws. Finally, suppose you're looking for reports dealing with the minimum wage, or as Joel said, we've grouped a whole host of what we think are hopefully helpful materials, including reports, fact sheets, talking points, polling, handy charts, like the ones that Colin puts together, all under the heading support, things that support legislation was our thinking, since there's not a real easy catch-all for all of those. So here we are, we're still looking for things that deal with the minimum wage, because that was the keyword we typed in. And if we click on this facet, support, you'll see that we get 69 reports, fact sheets, and so on that deal with minimum wage in one way or another. So here's family leave insurance. These tend to be a bit more scattered. Probably they have references to, have sections that deal with minimum wage, but may not be entirely about minimum wage. But here's one that is, for instance, from EPI, our friendly host. So that is one basic way to search. If you know, and that's generally if you know more or less precisely what you're after. If you're after, minimum wage laws, if you're after legislation dealing with energy-efficient retrofits of homes, you can type that into the keyword and then sift through the results or sort through the results in various ways, and so on.
This is Anthony. Can I just add one thing too?
Sure.
So the search bar also works similar to Google, where if you want to search for a phrase, you want to put it in quotes, and that'll limit it to the instance where it's just minimum wage.
Right. So for instance, we can check that out here, but it's quite possible we're picking up things that are talking about wages more generally. And if we type in minimum wage, we'll probably get a smaller number of results. See, we lost about 100 results there because now we're just looking for reports with the phrase minimum wage in them. So there's a whole host of nuances in how you search. I was going to say this at the end, but I'll just mention it now. If you're on the site and are finding yourself either confused about how to use some feature or wondering about some of those nuances, under About Alice at the top, there's a link to a document called How to Use the Website, which will give you a fair amount of background on all of the different ways that you can sort and search through the website. So as I was saying, that's what you can do if you know fairly specifically.
Hey Sam, this is Joel.
Yeah.
Could you show them what they can actually get? It's not just, you understand, it's not just this sort of stuff that you see, at this point, policy in action. You can actually download these things. So when you click on it, you can see the PDF of whatever it is, and those PDFs in turn are, I think fully searchable. They're not restricted PDFs.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to get to that a little bit later, but just...
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's fair. It's a good point, right? It's not just a list of things that exist in the world. Each of these things is actually in the database. If you click on it, you'll get a fair amount of information about, in this case, this report policy in action. You get a summary, the year, the source. It links through to the original source. So, for instance, if I'll pick the one that came from EPI. That's not up here anymore. Well, at any rate, so it'll link through to the original source. If it's an EARN group, it'll link through to the EARN group. If it's a bill, it will link through to the site of the legislature in question. And then, of course, you have the document itself, which opens up another window, but it's a PDF. It's suitable for framing and should be you can take it and do with it as you will, obviously. So That's true for everything that's in here, for all of the, well, I don't know, we're up to 1,200 or 1,400 or something documents that are in the database. So, as I was saying, this is how you search for a specific, if you know fairly specifically what it is that you're looking for. If you're looking for things on minimum wage, as I said, or energy efficiency retrofits. If you want to search at a higher level of generality, or you're less certain exactly what it is you're after, there's a few ways that you can look for things in a sort of broader category area. I think Joel alluded to this, but I'll just take 1 minute and show you that this is a new addition to this version of the website. We eventually will have a drop-down with topics corresponding to all of the sort of 14 major categories that we cover. This list of 14 right here. And if you go to those pages, which we call issue area pages, you'll get, so for instance, this is on energy environment, as you can see, you'll get some overview of the topic, so some sense of what we think is important there, references to some key policies in the area, so renewable portfolio standards, RPS, feed-in tariff, net metering, green banks. This is obviously not at all exhaustive. There's hundreds of documents in the library that have to do with energy and environment, but it is some of what we think are either the most timely and topical or key, foundational laws in that area. You'll also see a particular law that's highlighted. Often we'll highlight something bad that's going on in that area, which Joel, I think, also mentioned on the homepage. And there's also various ways that you can search the entire database for this specific topic. So here we are in energy and environment. If you want to see all the model laws on energy and environment, you click on model laws. If you want to see all of the quote-unquote exemplary laws, meaning things that have passed or introduced, you click there. If you want to see all of the reports, obviously, et cetera, et cetera. So that's one way to look for things in a broad category. A second, if you want to get more directly to the search, is to simply pick one of these policy areas on the left, policy area facets, as we call them. So if you're looking for laws in the area, laws or supports in the area of civil rights, you can click on civil rights. This searches the library, it brings up everything to do with civil rights. And under topic, you can narrow that down yet further. So if you're looking in particular for things having to do with civil liberties, you can click on civil liberties. We're now down to 19 documents. You could also then sort out, as you can see, acts. You could sort out model versus exemplary. And you could sort out things having particularly to do with, say, the Patriot Act, if you like, using the tags. And so, by searching, even if you're not certain ahead of time exactly what you want to type into the keyword bar, you can narrow down far enough. That's probably about enough about searching. I'll just note quickly, I think Joel touched on this, but there's a whole range of ways, in addition to policy-oriented ways, that you can search the database. You can search for things by a specific state. Here we've got all 50, so if you're based in Arizona, say, and you want laws that passed in Arizona, you can search for those specifically. You can search by sources. So, again, if you know specifically which author you're looking for, you can search that way. And Joel mentioned tags as well. And there is things, we actually have a tag for documents from EARN groups, which I'll get to right now, actually. Because the second thing that we suppose that EARN groups might be wanting to do on the ALICE website is, say, is to look for a template. So you're thinking about releasing a report on some particular topic, or maybe just releasing a report having to do with your state, and you're wondering, this comes up on the EARN listserv a lot, you're wondering if someone else has done something on that topic, you're wondering if someone else has released a report of that kind that you can model it off of, that you can use for source material, and so on. So in that case, you might want to start by narrowing down to supports, and then, because this will include all of the reports and fact sheets and so on, it'll filter out all of the model law. And as I said, we have a tag. We've tagged everything that's currently in the database that came from an EARN group. Hopefully we've tagged this pretty comprehensively. It's possible that we have missed a couple or have a couple extra, but we have roughly right now 50 documents that have come from EARN groups, and you can sort those by the usual categories, so you can see more recent, or you can see ones that are more relevant, you can also look by source. So if you know you want stuff from in the public interest, you can narrow down in that way. Right here, or if you know you want things from EPI, you can click on EPI and see all of the documents in the database from EPI. I think I think that those are some of the major ways that we imagine people searching through, looking for categories of information on the website. So let me just talk briefly about ways that EARN groups can use but also contribute to ALICE and building the ALICE network, and then I'm going to turn over to Colin to say a little bit more about that. So let me head back to the home page here. So first of all, of course, the main way you can contribute is by using the site extensively, by spreading the word. You know, there's your basic social media icons, but just word of mouth. And in general, using ALICE as the public good that it's intended to be. But another way that you can contribute is by rating particular assets. So we have this feature, and whereby both members of the public and what we call experts, which I think everyone on this phone would qualify as, that is to say, people who know, have a certain issue-specific or policy-specific knowledge of a particular area, can rate particular assets, and what that there's a number of places where top-rated assets pop up. So on issue pages, for instance, let's see.
Well, we're going to put those up after we have.
Right. Got it. Sorry, I'm used to looking at our mock-up where we had actual where we had ratings, but obviously we will we'll wait until people have actually rated them before we post them. But so as I was saying, these ratings will generate lists of top-rated assets, both top-rated by the public and top-rated by you, the experts. In order to rate assets, which we encourage you to do freely and extensively, you either log in or sign up. There's no real requirement for a membership. This is the sign-up page. If you click on that, you just enter an email, you make up your own password. It sends us a little email confirmation, it sends you a little email confirmation, and voila, you're in. I've already created such a password, so I would go to the login page. If I click, and I click sign in, and I should be able to rate these assets. Let's see. I think it considers me an expert, rightly or wrongly. So you can go through and you can give these a rating. Once you rate it, it'll show up. The stars will stay lit like that. So I've given this 4 stars. It's recorded. You don't have to do anything else. If you want to rate another asset, you can go to the next one. You can go back to the list and rate from there. So I give that one 3 stars. And if you want to get rid of your rating, you click that. It's gone. Sorry, click. I don't know if when I say that, if everyone's seeing it, as Joel said, it's a little hard. Speaking into a vacuum, you're never sure if anyone knows exactly what you're talking about. But I'm hovering over this little do not enter sign that cancels the rating, as it says. And then you can enter a new one if you like. So that's rating. That's one thing that we hope you'll do. A second thing that we hope you'll do.
Sam, real quick, can I just jump in? So one thing we also want to point out is when you do sign up, if you use your organizational email address, that way we'll be able to more easily assign you into the expert category. Otherwise, if you will email us at alice@alicelaw.org to let us know that you did sign up, we can then change your personal email to an expert rating status.
Yep, thanks. Right, so that's rating. And yeah, as Anthony said, if you use your work email, we'll do it automatically for you. Otherwise, you can email us. You can always email us at any time about anything, of course. We encourage it, but specifically if you email us, if you've signed up through Gmail, say, with your Gmail account, and say, just tell us who you are and ask to be designated as an expert, you can email us at alice@alicelaw.org. So as I was saying, another way that we hope that ALICE will be useful and that we encourage you to use ALICE is by submitting ideas for model laws to draft. So we're constantly adding model laws to the database. We draft both laws that are written by other groups, experts, but also laws that we write ourselves. We draft some of those sort of with the meager staff that we have here at Alice Central at COWS. We also have a fairly extensive network of law professors, law students, public policy professors, and experts of various kinds who are drafting legislation on areas that they know. And a way that you can submit a request effectively to that network is by going to Get Involved and then to what we call matchmaking, our version of policy dating. And under matchmaking, you can, we encourage you to submit an idea. So if you have something, and a policy concept that you don't have legislation, either local or for this crowd more state-level legislation, and would like to see a model on it, you can click here. There'll be a form. You fill it out, and we will post that to the site, and we will post it to our network of law professors and experts and so on. Hopefully one of them will sign up to draft on that topic. You can also, since this is a crowd of experts in various areas, you can interact on the other end of that equation. If you see something, so here's a few samples. These are real topics, but we've just filled in a few for now just so you get a sense of it. So for instance, automatic payroll deduction for union dues, that's something that someone on this call might have a good idea for drafting of how to draft legislation on, or might know a state model that could be easily adapted. You can, if you would like to draft a law on that and see it go into the library and then see it distributed around the country and passed in dozens of states in the not too distant future, we hope, you click on automatic payroll deduction for union dues, and again, there's a little form you fill out to sign up to draft. Again, I'll try not to spend too much time on this. If you have questions about it, do feel free to get a hold of us. Hopefully it's relatively self-explanatory if you go on this matchmaking page.
And Sam,
and read the instructions.
Sam, one other thing to add. So drafting, definitely we could use some drafters, but we could also use reviewers. So if you okay, I was just going to say, so if you don't have the interest or experience in drafting and you'd like to just be able to review a draft that someone else does, we'd love to have you sign in here as well to volunteer to do that.
This might be the right place to say as well, Anthony and Sam and all of you, we have a stable of professional drafters. These are people who are in general retired from state service doing this, but they worked in the Legislative Reference Bureau or Ledge Counsel office at their particular legislature, and they've drafted gazillions of bills, all of them. And we have 8 or 9 or 10 of these people right now, and we're expanding that all the time, and they are there to take an idea, which may be not particularly well formed, and help you shape it into a draft law. So if you don't know anything about drafting, that should not be a bar here. If you have a good idea, we want to hear from you. We can work with you to take it from there.
Yep, that's absolutely right. We have a process of review both on sort of substantive and technical grounds. The Ledge Counsel can help draft. They can also review if you don't consider yourself an expert in drafting, which many of us are not, at least in the first instance. If you have the basic concept, we can provide you with help. We can review what you draft, or as I think Joel might have been saying, you can also submit an idea, and we may be able to provide some resources to turn that idea into a finished model. And all of that happens, at least in the first instance right here on the matchmaking page. Yep, and Anthony mentioned reviewing, which is also something that we encourage folks to volunteer for. Again, we may have someone else draft something on automatic payroll deduction for union dues, but that may be an area that you know quite a bit about. So if you let us know about that by signing up to review this, we can then take that draft and send it to you, and you can compare it to the best practices that are out there and use your knowledge to give us substantive feedback on it, which we greatly value. And I think that's probably enough about the ways you can contribute through the website. I think the most important way that we envision, or one of the most important ways we envision EARN groups contributing, and this is probably already evident from the website, is by contributing materials, by allowing Alice to be a conduit to get your reports and your ideas in the hands of elected officials and others around the country. And here is where I'm going to turn it over to Colin to talk about how we envision that happening, both sort of conceptually and mechanically. And hopefully I've preambled enough for Anthony to unmute Colin so he can talk.
Yeah, he's unmuted. Colin, take it away.
Great.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, great. So this is fairly simple and straightforward. You know, Alice, in a sense, is picking up where Building the Middle Class made a noble try as a catalog and library of earned work. I think it's very important that we have that catalog, and just as important that it be relatively systematic, so that you can do sort of one-stop shopping for who's written something on wage theft, who's written something on the EITC, that sort of thing. And I think Alice is very well positioned because of all the very sort of smart and intersecting ways of searching the site, matching it up with model legislation, is very well positioned to serve as that catalog. The criteria for earned materials that can and should be posted to Alice, we're obviously not looking for every blog post, every response to some legislative abomination in your state. We're really looking for things that that have some shelf life, that have some utility moving forward. So for the most part, these are going to be research-based pieces, but they may be something on the how to frame an issue or something like that. But the idea is that it's something that that is going to be useful to people moving forward for more than a couple of weeks. As an example, I went through our organization's last couple of years of reports. A lot of what we do, sort of job watch and that sort of thing, is obviously not intended, is not appropriate for Alice. And I found, in the last 2 years, we did 10 or 15 substantive research pieces that deserve to go up on Alice. So the riddle then is how we get that stuff up. We've done a little bit of that by scraping the old Building the Middle Class site, and I've been working with Alice people and getting some of that stuff over. But I think a better way of doing that, a more efficient way, is really to move forward on a couple of fronts. One of these is I'm going to sort of serve as the wrangler of earned groups to get their, particularly their retroactive research up on the site. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to send out this spreadsheet to people, and so there'll be a flurry of emails. I want to know who at your organization I should send this to, and that sort of thing. It's fairly easy to fill out. You paste in the title. There's drop-down menus under policy area, level of government, state, where you just fill those in. It's really quite simple. Put in a permanent link to wherever the resource or asset can be found. And the only thing that takes a little bit of time, and it took me about half an hour to do our 10 or 15 reports, is the summary, because these should be these can be in some respects pasted from abstracts or executive summaries of the reports themselves, but this should be a 2 to 4 sentence, very sort of straightforward explanation of what the report does, what kind of research it contains. So the basic idea is that this spreadsheet will go out to earned groups in the hope that someone at your end, or with the expectation that someone at your end, will fill in retroactively the last couple of years of substantive research work. And I think for most of it, that's going to mean somewhere between 5 and 15 pieces. And then this will go back to the folks at Alice, and they'll finish off the tagging and the topical organization and get up on the site. Once that's accomplished, then I think we shift and we would ask people just to use the submission form that's on the site. So I don't know if Anthony or Sam can go to that. It basically asks for the the same sort of range of information. Although and what we would hope is people just get in the habit when they do a substantial piece of research that, on top of tweeting it and Facebooking it and all the other things, that they submit it to ALICE. Again, using the same basic criteria that it should be, some sort of substantial and useful piece of research that has a decent shelf life. And then, just take a couple of minutes to fill in this form, and then the staff at the Madison end can take care of the tagging and getting it up onto the site and making it accessible.